This is Modern Persian Food,
a culinary podcast for today's food enthusiast.
We talk about classic Persian flavors,
modern recipes,
and embracing culture and identity through food.
I'm Bita.
And I'm also Bita.
Welcome to our show.
Hello, salam friends. Welcome to the Modern Persian Food Podcast. Hope everyone is doing great. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope everyone's had a really great summer full of experiences and opportunities to grow. We thought we'd start off today by doing a little recap and catch up of our summertime activities, specifically what Persian-inspired things that we've done for the first half of the show. And on the second half of the show, let's talk about fruit trees and Persian fruit in general and how it's such a big part of Persian culture. As always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Bita. Hi, Bita June. How are you doing today?
Hi, everyone. If you're new to the show, I'm Bita, and I'm also here with Bita. So we're two Bitas with a shared passion for talking about our culture, Persian culture, and ancient, beautiful, rich culture, and bringing modern food twists to you, including traditions. And it's almost back to school time. It's starting to become the change of seasons. And when I think about that, I always think about like a bright, juicy red apple on the teacher's desk, on the door of the teacher. And we sure love fruit in the Persian culture, don't we, Bita June?
Yeah, we absolutely do. And apples are definitely a symbol of back to school. And we go through a lot of apples. So as Bita June was saying, we're both Bita, but we bring different perspectives. I have young kids, and actually today was their first day of school. And they will be definitely eating apples because it's one of their favorite fruits. And I'm Bita Nasim Kelly here in San Francisco, and Bita Arabian down in Southern California right now has two lovely daughters who are older. So very different perspectives in our households. And we hope to bring all of that to you, our listener, and share with you how we incorporate being Persian into our lives here living in California.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to do like a quick little recap of who we are, because I know we have our seasoned, tried and true listeners, but we also have some new ones in there too. I have a health background, and my dad was a doctor, so I try to plug in the little what's good for you, and apples and all types of fruit are definitely on the list. My dad was a huge proponent of eating fresh, and that's something that was really instilled in me. And so I really advocate for a plant-forward and plant-based way of eating. So I think just naturally in our culture, we have so many fresh foods that are, produce. And so the farmer's market and these late summer fruit are just so incredibly sweet and juicy and flavorful. I think about our local farmers market here. We have a sweet little one here in Dana Point, and there's these stone fruit guys. There's actually one of the guys is Persian.
Oh, wow.
But
yeah.
It's like a total party scene. They play music, they've got the samples out, and they've got the whole gamut of stone fruit. And so it is so much fun to go there and load up on, nectarines of every variety, peaches of every variety, all the apricots, the plums, the yellow plums, the dark plums. And I'm kind of getting to know more and more about them and talking to the stone fruit guys, and also just enjoying them, about some tips and tricks for kind of like keeping them fresh and also knowing when to eat them and how to ripen them when they're not quite ready to be consumed.
I thought it would be fun to just kind of talk about being Persian and what kind of Persian things. I live in a hybrid family, although I am 100% Persian. Both my parents are Persian and from Iran. My husband is not Persian, and my kids are half Persian. So, it's really interesting because we're trying to introduce and instill some of these beautiful Persian traditions and also flavors of Persian food into our family. It's not something that we take for granted. I feel in our house, we definitely have to work on that just because there are other cultural influences that make our family what it is. So I I thought it would be fun to share how I kind of kicked off this summer. I participated in a food game show.
Yeah.
And I think you saw the replay of that. And that was such a fun experience.
I did.
And it was from our local PBS station, KQED. It's available online. It's a game show called Chew on This. And I had a great time. And it was about pasta. And it had different rounds. And it had a eating competition at the end, which I did not win. But I'm actually A-okay with that. But I had such a fun time. And I do have to say, I was in the lead for most of the game until that very last eating competition.
You did so well.
Oh, thank you.
You did extremely well. Like, I know you're a foodie. I know you have good brains around food stuff, but man, oh man, you were killing it. You should have had that. I think you should have won that.
Thanks.
It was so close.
It was a lot of fun.
We'll link to it so you all can watch.
Yeah. Why I'm bringing it up actually is because the first question of the game, it was about pasta. The first question that I was to answer was, where did pasta originate from? And what I was so excited about was that we actually talked about this in a previous episode. For those of you who remember, we had Chef Orly on the show as a special guest, and she was talking to us and walking us through the steps of how to make Persian-style macaroni with potato tahdig. So just thinking about it makes me salivate. But she quoted in that episode, which was episode 137 for anyone keeping track, she quoted Najmieh Batmangalij, who referenced a Smithsonian article which indicates that pasta was originally made in Iran. So I thought that that was really cool because not only did I win that round, I got a bonus. I got 10 extra bonus points for getting that correct. So I thought that that was really cool that, that we had a guest and we were talking about that exact topic previously, that I was able to win and get double points for it. So anyway, I thought that was just kind of fun and just a way that I was able to bring kind of some Persian heritage into even this unrelated game show that I was participating in.
It was like serendipity. It was like serendipity tying it all together. And that was so cool. And because I remember I was thinking as I was watching, I was like, you must have studied for this, because how do you even study for this? And then that question came right up and I was like, oh my gosh, see?
Yeah.
All this research that we've been doing and the special guests we've had and the experts on the show.
Yep. It all links together.
Double points, girl.
Yeah, exactly. Another time this summer, we went to a fair, the Marin County Fair for 4th of July. And it was so hot. It was really hot. I had taken both of my kids and we're direct sun. And it really reminded me of Tirgan, and we've talked about Tirgan before here. And what Tirgan is the summer festival. And what you do to celebrate Tirgan is you part of the celebrations include splashing each other with water. And that was so much fun because I was actually I had a bottle of water and I'm sprinkling the kids all with water all throughout that day because it was so hot and I'm just trying to keep them cool. So it made me really think about kind of Tirgan. And even though, it's not a big celebrated holiday now, but those ancient roots and ancient traditions, not only make sense, but is really part of my history. And I guess it's just in my blood as I'm splashing the kids with cool water to keep them from overheating.
I love that tie-in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sent me a picture. It was during a heat wave. I think it was in the middle of the summer. It was so hot. And so, yes, Mama had to cool her kids.
Yeah, exactly.
The water splashing. But I think that's a lot of what I feel why I'm still so passionate about this, with each changing of the season and learning more about the old Zoroastrian culture. And then realizing that so much of it makes sense today. And then being able to splash it in here and there is just so serendipity again.
Right. And still relevant, even though thousands and thousands of years have gone by. I've been having some food modifications for some health reasons that started over the last few months. So I've been kind of trying to find other substitutions for some of my favorite meals and some of my favorite foods and some of my favorite Persian foods. So I've been just kind of like experimenting, and more to come on that in future episodes once I learn a little bit more. But I've been doing a lot with cauliflower rice, and I've been trying to see other ways of making tahdig. One new thing that I found are jicama slices, and I've been playing around with making tahdig with jicama slices, although it hasn't been too successful because of just the moisture content and just using cauliflower rice for tahdig. So trying to come up with innovative ways of making tahdig and substitutions for traditional rice. And I've been loving using an alternative salad dressing. I've been using a version of what we call Sekanjabin, which is a syrup. It's a syrup that you can make drinks with. Again, we've talked about this. We have a previous episode. If you want to learn more about Sekanjabin specifically, we'll link that in our show notes if you'd like.
Just the episode before last was Sekanjabin.
Exactly. So we have all that great content. But just as a refresher, Sekanjabin is a syrup that is made from honey, vinegar, and mint. And I've been loving using that as my salad dressing. Like we previously said, you can use it to make drinks. You could use it as a dip for lettuce, like, for a Beata, which is this outdoor picnic. And I've been using it just as a straight salad dressing. And I love that. So it's kind of fun to use these Persian flavors in unexpected ways sometimes. So those are just some of the ways that I've been trying to bring in Persianness into kind of my everyday life here with some of the modifications.
Thank you for sharing that. I know that your recent food sensitivities have been a pretty big deal in terms of how you're used to eating, what you have to do now, and almost like preparing entire different meals for yourself. And so, yes, I'm looking forward to hearing about it because I know there's a lot of people out there who also have food sensitivities and can't eat everything on the ancient Persian platter. And so, these are healthy modern twists. And I know you have an upcoming doctor's appointment. And so, as you're figuring out all the details of what it looks like for you, we're definitely looking forward to the upcoming fall seasons and holidays and what's going to be on your plate, because I know that has been a personal challenge. And so thank you for sharing about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us about your summer. What were some of the Persian stuff and other stuff that you've been doing? Tell us about it.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. So this was our first summer that we got to spend the entire summer in Southern California in Dana Point, and it's been dreamy. It's just been really nice. Lovely. I don't want it to end, but also I miss my family. But it's been really lovely to be close to the sea and just fresh air, and the lifestyle here, I really think is unmatched. But I did have the opportunity to take 2 eastbound trips this summer. The first was to New York, to Manhattan, to help our younger daughter set up and get going for her exciting summer internship in New York City. And that was, really fun. And it was during a heat wave, and there was a Modern Persian Food tie-in, and actually it was more of an oven hug tie-in. By the twist of fate, somebody who has been using my recipes got connected to me and shared an audio message that so touched my heart.
Katie, I can't believe that you've been acquainted with the infamous founder of Oven Hug. I have been using her recipe for Sekanjabin, and I've made it for several people from Iran. I've been to Iran twice myself. I've had Sekanjabin in Iran. And not only that, I have made it for people who have been away from Iran for many years. One of them proposed to me. She said, I now understand why men will propose to women after they have their cooking. And this woman said, will you marry me? Another friend cried. She hasn't been home and had her mother's Sekanjabin in 7 years. I made it with this Instant Pot recipe, and she cried. I'm just I was shocked. I feel like a celebrity or someone who actually has had such a huge impact on my culinary experience. Like I feel like a world-class chef because of this recipe, this impossible by all accounts to make recipe of Fesenjoon. Bita has made it so easy, and it has brought so many emotions to so many people, and it's made me look like a really good chef. I'm in shock. It's amazing. I can't tell you what this recipe has meant to me.
It moved me so much. The recipe that this listener, basically a super fan, made my recipe for friends, and it was for an instant pot Fesenjoon. It just turned into this whole amazing thing where I had to meet him, and it turned out that we got to meet in person. Not only did I get to meet someone who has been using my recipes and it's touched so many people's lives, but we decided to meet over at Sofreh restaurant.
Yeah, Nasim Alikhani from Sofreh restaurant in Brooklyn, who we've actually had on the show. She's a cookbook author, restaurateur, and seems like an amazing woman. So I'm a little jealous that you actually went to her restaurant and met her. And you had Sekanjabin with her, too.
I did. I took the subway. I went to Sofreh Cafe just before they closed. I got to see the iconic bathroom. And then I met Jake at her restaurant in the evening for dinner. And we got a little picture and had a little chat with Nasim June herself. And it was just all like a dream. It was so amazing. And it really fueled me to think that, oh my gosh, these recipes are something special, and we may have something to say. So stay tuned, and we'll see what's going to happen with potential cookbooks and recipes and whatnot. So that was very, very touching to have that all kind of pulled together. And I had such a nice time speaking with Jake Perron, just basically about food and Persian culture for 2 hours. But I think what was so interesting to me is I always thought that, that I was writing recipes and speaking on the podcast to people that don't have a huge knowledge about, cooking Persian food, that are, wanting to get back into learning it, or they're half Persian, or they have a spouse that's Iranian, or for some reason they're interested in learning it. But what he brought to my attention is like people who grew up eating Persian food, who are very, very Iranian, and maybe have been removed, are tasting. He cooked for his girlfriend, and it brought tears to her eyes because it tasted so much like Iran. And so I think that's what's so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
The nostalgia.
And then having the Sekanjabin then launched me into making so much Sekanjabin this summer. On hot days, I put it in a big mason jar and I just hand it to my husband when he walks in, and he's so happy. Like, makes his whole day.
Oh, so cute. Sounds lovely.
Yeah, it was a good summer. And then my second East Coast trip was to the Midwest, actually, for a wedding of a very dear friend of mine's daughter. And that took place near my hometown where I grew up in Michigan. I grew up in East Lansing, but the wedding was in northern Michigan in Traverse City. Such a cute place. I hadn't been there for decades. And it's cherry capital of the world. So Traverse City is cherry capital of the world. And I just immersed myself in cherries, literally. I had cherries on my fingernails. I had cherry earrings.
I love it.
We got cherry t-shirts, and we bought everything cherry. Yes.
I could see that.
The dried sour cherries are amazing. I bought some. I brought them back. I baked cookies with them. I shared with my friends. It was really good. I had this really good cherry juice, and there's cherry wine. You got to get to Traverse City if you haven't been there. It was a beautiful wedding. I was so happy to see my old friends, and equally happy to be back in California.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Where it's always beautiful, perfect weather.
Yeah. Well, I actually last weekend was at my cousin's house in San Jose, and they have a little albalu tree, which is a sour cherry tree. So I actually plucked a few off of the tree and ate them. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, albalu and sour cherries are such a special type of tree.
Yeah, so it's late summer, and I think that the stone fruit are so sweet and fragrant and ripe right now. There's figs that are in season, apples.
They're starting to get some quince on the trees, and you're seeing some pomegranates that are growing. I've seen some pomegranate trees lately, not big pomegranates on them yet, but they're mainly green. But I feel that like Persians love fruit trees. It's like when someone gets a house and they're building up their yard, it's always wanting to incorporate fruit trees in the backyard. Or if they see a home that has an abundant tree, it like gets people really excited. And I think that's for like a couple different reasons. One, it's beautiful. It looks so beautiful when you see a tree that has like full of fruit. Using natural resources from Mother Earth. It's like it's growing and we can like enjoy these delicious fruits, and not wanting to be wasteful. So, it's like a fresh fruit, and people can preserve some of these. You can eat them fresh, obviously. You can preserve them. You can pickle them. So I think that it's like part of Persian culture, maybe not to be wasteful. So I can definitely see that when it comes to like Persian trees, that people love picking the fruits off of a tree. And if you see someone who isn't doing it, it's like, oh my God, Chahef, like they're like letting all these lemons like just fall to the ground, So I think it's like making use of kind of these natural resources that we have to like really kind of enjoy them. And people enjoy eating them so much. It's like every party you go to, you will see fresh fruit in some way, either presented in a nice bowl or as part of dessert, or even like when there's tea, there'll be like grapes and things like that. That I have a friend whose mother would say every time she was entertaining, you have to have a bowl of fruit. You can't have a party and not have a bowl of fruit. And it had a whole variety of fruits, from like, stone fruits and apples and oranges, bananas, cucumbers, where people are like, why are there cucumbers in the fruit bowl? But it's like, cucumber, a nice crisp cucumber with a little bit of salt on it. There's nothing like that.
Yeah, abundance. It's part of the ceremony of having guests. Again, this is at the traditional times, but the little plates and the paring knife where you peel it and you cut it and you make it easy to eat for your guests, and you pass it around and you share it. That's how you eat fruit. And yeah, it's definitely not just for breakfast. It's not just apple in your backpack. It's a part of everything. And I love that because it is so good for you, and it is so easy to integrate. It's so delicious. And in modern ways, I love to take a beautiful piece of fruit, slice it up, put it on a cheese board, grill your peach, put a cheese and honey on it, and a big, beautiful half of a walnut. How delicious is that? Cut a big, beautiful fig and put that out as part of your appetizers, and, make a little cracker sandwich out of it with some goat cheese. And I love it in salads and all kinds of things. I'll even grill a pineapple, and put it on my burger. There's so many ways to integrate fruit into all of your meals and snacks.
You bring up grilling fruit, and that's like such a delicious way to eat fruit, and it like caramelizes the natural sugars in the fruit. So that's a great tip to do that.
Yeah, take your sweet peaches and grill them, and then add that little smoky touch, and it just really elevates your cheese board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. We make a lot of rainbow fruit at our house. And what that is that basically getting fruit from all the different colors of the rainbow. And I'll make like a big plate of it, of like, red for strawberries and some cantaloupe and banana. I'll throw some cucumber in there, blueberries, grapes, and you have a little rainbow. And we call that rainbow fruit.
That's a very sneaky way to give them about the most nutritious snack that you can, because by getting all those colors in, you're hitting all the vitamins. Good job, Mama.
Exactly. Thanks. That's one way we do it. But yeah, getting the fruit all ready to go is definitely a fun way to do it too. So it's like you don't have to like be cumbersome of like peeling or cutting every time. It's just like kind of cut it all up and then serve it all up, and it's delicious. Like kind of how like they do at the farmer's market, get it all ready to sample and eat away. I spent some time in Calistoga this summer, and they have an amazing farmer's market that if anyone goes, they should definitely keep that as part of their activities, with all the other delicious foods and wines to be enjoying out there. But again, it was such a fun time because all of the stone fruits were all ripe. So many different kinds of plums and peaches and nectarines and cherries. They were just so delicious.
Calistoga probably had such good selection of because I think of it as being a very elevated farm to table restaurant environment. So I'm sure in all of the farms there, how fun. I love going to farmers markets when I'm in a new city.
Yeah, me too. I love farmers markets. And it was fun because then we would go to the restaurants and we would see some of the same ingredients that we saw at the farmers markets at the restaurants, which is always really nice. Plums are a fun part of Persian culture too. You think maybe just of the bigger, purplish plums, but there's so many different varieties. And then also the small, kind of before they're fully ripe, green plums, gorgeous sabs. And it's so tart and delicious. I love putting a little bit of salt on it sometimes to just make it extra delicious. Or, there's something called dalar, which is this herb paste from northern Iran area that they can put that on the gorgeous sabs, the sour green plums that are really delicious. You can also put it on cucumber.
Yeah, hopefully wherever you are listening, hopefully you can still get your hands on some late summer produce. And if you do, a couple of tips for ripening your stone fruit, or really anything.
Yes.
That I recently learned and I've been implementing is that apples and pears give off a chemical that will help ripen whatever is around them. So if you have a bowl or a platter, I have this pretty stand that I have here. I put my apples there and then I'll take my nectarines and peaches and plums that are a bit too hard and not quite, not quite ready yet. And I'll put them right up near the apples and they'll ripen in just a day or two. And then just keep an eye on them because they will ripen up really quickly. And you could do that with just about anything. And then put them in the fridge so that they don't go bad. But another way is by looking at the stem. And if it's brown, it's probably ready to eat that day or where the stem has been. If it's still green, then you probably need to do the apple trick.
Okay. All right. That's a good tip. Yeah, I do something similar with my avocados and with bananas. They help each other ripen, or they help the avocado ripen too. So that's handy when you get some of the fruit. A lot of times when you get it from the standard grocery store, a lot of the fruit is actually not ripe.
The pears and the apples give off ethylene gas. I called it a chemical, but give off that gas. Another way is to put it in a paper bag. Definitely works with the avocados is to put it in a paper bag for a couple of days, a brown paper bag. And then that, again, I think that ethylene gas kind of keeps it in there.
Cool. Hopefully when you see a tree overflowing with bountiful fruit, hopefully you can reach up and grab one and take a nice bite of a stone fruit or an apple. We're getting into apple picking season over here, which is really fun. And soon will be more of the persimmons and pomegranates and quince on the trees. So hopefully we've kind of inspired you to have a taste of those flavors. This episode is a little bit longer, but with our new monthly format, we had a lot to say. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of our journey. Just a sneak peek at some of the topics that we're looking to include in future podcasts. We're looking at back to school in Mehregan next month. So we're excited about that. And then we're going to be kind of thrown in right into the holidays, into Thanksgiving. Maybe we do a little twist on that this year, focusing on some pies and some Persian flavors in those pies. And then we'll kind of wrap up the year with our annual Yalda episode, which is a favorite episode of ours that we really enjoy not only recording, but sharing with you all. So thanks again for your time. Thanks for listening. And until next time.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see you in person, Bita June. We're going to do a little something for Mehregan, which we'll talk about in our special Back to School Mehregan episode. Thanks, everyone. Stay well.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Modern Persian Food Podcast with Beata and Bita. Thanks for spending time with us. If you've enjoyed what you heard today, consider telling a friend or giving us a good rating. You can subscribe to our show for free on your favorite podcasting app or find us online at modernpersianfood.com or on Instagram for the recipes and information we talked about today. We'd love to hear your thoughts and see you next time.